Good evening, my name is Jeremy Dillard, and today we'll be talking about Socrates' Theory of Knowledge. The paper that I selected of Socrates' Theory of Knowledge concerned a few key words. The first key word that we look at is reason, why something happens. And that's what Socrates focuses on. Why are things happening? The next thing we focus on is the understanding of how something happens. So we can reason as to why it's happening, but now we understand why it's happening. And then leading to our famous one of Socrates is the ignorance, is that we do not know everything, and so by not knowing everything, we're constantly trying to understand the reason and the understanding why something is occurring. Taking a step back into the life of Socrates, he was born in Athens, and his parents were middle class. He studied the arts of writing and reading, but he also studied gymnastics. And these are the things that these young men studied at the time so that they would have a more open mind towards what was going on, which was really the prowess of Socrates' thinking. Education, how Socrates has affected education is with some of the methods that are used. So for us, with a little gray hair on our faces, we may understand the standard algorithm. So with the standard algorithm, we'll take 3 times 7. 3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 3 is 9, 9, 10, 11. So that's 111. We're pretty much done with the problem. However, Socrates asked the question, well, why is that a 3, and why is that a 1, and why is that a 10? And so now we'll have to come to a new way of thinking. So the 7 is in the 1 spot. So that's a 7. But the 3 is in the 10 spot. So with the 3 being in the 10 spot, that 3 is now 30. And since the 3 is in the 1 spot, and since the 3 is in the 1 spot now, we'll take the 3 again. Now, understanding this, Socrates still asks the question of, well, why is that 3 a 3, and why is that 7 a 7, and why is that a 1, and why is that a 10? And now he's going to break it down and even make it more understandable for those who are having trouble. So 3 times 7 is going to be 21. 3 times 30, let's get rid of that 0 like we used to do. 3 times 3 is 9. And we have 1 0, so that's going to be 90. So now we're going to take 90 plus 21. 1 plus 0 is 1, 9, 10, and that's 11. So we're getting the same answer. We're just using a different method to get it. And so this is what Socrates focused on, that understanding of asking the question of why, and why are we doing it. This can be related to a military aspect of how would you flank an area. So if you have a platoon center, a platoon left, and a platoon right, which area are you going to flank? Well, it's open. So you could flank, if you flank to the left, it has more coverage. Or flank to the right, it will have less coverage. You can just attack straight up. Socrates asked the question of why. So even if you flanked in the correct direction, he would ask, well, why are you flanking in the direction with more trees? Why don't you flank in the direction with the left? He's constantly asking the question to get you to a point. This would bring us to our final stage of how we used it in for diversity to answer more questions. So for us, we would ask a problem. So the problem set would be, why are we flanking to the left or to the right? Or why are we doing math in this manner? Well, the analysis of why we're doing math using the standard algorithm compared to distributed properties is that if you do it with the standard algorithm, you're not seeing the inner workings of the problem. But if you do it with the distributed properties, you're going to see more of it. The solution is the teacher should teach both frames, the standard algorithm and distributed properties. And by teaching that, you'll get better results on tests and the students will do better. However, with Socrates, he is nested with the analysis and with the solution. Never really moving towards the problems, and this is where we get critical of Socrates, because he's not understanding we have to move forward with an action in order to produce a new problem. This is a complete refinement, but this area of analysis and solution is where Socrates remains nested at. And this is where I'm critical. This leads me to my conclusion of Socrates in that his questions were good, and you have to ask questions in order to find out more and more about the topic, but it's he also referred to being open-minded. And so with him being open-minded, he was open-minded to have ideas that would allow us to think more and more along the lines of what can be done to make us better and how we can have better refinement in the future. This concludes my assignment. Thank you.